What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here, Dean 78904. If you want to get all technical right now, it's the start of 2 hours of nonstop NBA DFS conversation. We're taking you straight up the lock tonight, 7 o'clock lock. And it's a sprint slate. I love these sprint slates. Last game locks 8 o'clock on the East Coast. 5 of the 6 games tip off in air quotes at 7:30. Joined by one of the best DFS players, one of the best DFS tournament players of all time. It is Squirrel Patrol. Squirrel, you like these sprint slates? You can just sort of chill at 8:01 if you want to. I think it's pretty fun.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I thought, I looked at the slate first, and then I'm like, oh, did they chop off the last games? Nope, just organically, the way this NBA schedule broke out. But yeah, I like it. I like getting to bed early. I can look at other sports, for tomorrow if I want to, and then get to bed. It's crazy. Yeah, no, but I love this kind of setup.
What's your setup? What time do you usually get to bed? And are you looking ahead the night before? I always the night before look ahead to what do we have? Kind of take a glance at the slate. Sometimes I'll bet a few things and before the line may or may not move. What's the 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock? Are we in bed by that time? Are we looking at that tomorrow? How does that go?
Yeah, I'm usually up late, as the last games are winding down, which can be 1 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast, looking at a kind of a dummy lineup for tomorrow, maybe on both sites. But yeah, I should be looking at betting lines and player props to come out early. That's what I should actually maybe be doing, because that's when you get the most inefficiencies. But that's not what I do. I'm making a dummy lineup and I generally try to make a dummy lineup of guys that I might forget about from watching the games tonight that might do well tomorrow. Or that guys maybe oh, I remember this guy from a couple of nights ago. I played more than I thought he would, or something like that. Try to get those guys into a lineup so I can wake up, see them the next day, oh yeah, that guy. I was high on that guy last night.
Current, I don't know if we're at the point it's still dummy lineups, optimal lineups right now. We talked about this pre-show. This is more of a DK thing than a FanDuel thing, but it's really wild that now it sort of fluctuates. The very first lineup I have optimal wise is 6 Nets, 6 Brooklyn Nets. They only have 10 dudes and they're without several of the rotation players, but still that seems like a lot. The next one I think is 4, right? So we got 6, 4, 5. They're all pretty cheap, and their rotation is going to be pretty condensed. And it looks like a really good matchup against Golden State. We'll talk about that amongst the 6 games. Other players are what we're monitoring as far as who's in and who's out. Luka's expected to play. He's dealing with that ankle. It's so wild. I don't know if you've been watching him. He played 42 minutes the last game, and he visited the locker room at some point too, which is wild. How do you do that? He times his locker room visits really, really well. If he's not in the locker room, he's on the court basically. Paul George is expected to play. That is let's see. The front half of a back-to-back, we have Dallas, and we have the Nets. Back half is the Hornets, the Clippers, and the Raptors. And they've been kind of babying Paul George's minutes. I thought there's a chance he wouldn't play today. We'll see. These things can still change, but he's expected to go. He's not on the injury report. Zubac, I believe, is questionable. He came back yesterday. I think there's a decent chance he doesn't play. We saw RJ Barrett was ruled out. Jared Allen is questionable with his ankle. Tobias Harris has that illness. I think he's going to go. I feel like that's a 7 o'clock game. We'll know. We're crunch time. We'll know. I think he was spotted at practice, if I'm not mistaken. Both of the Lakers are, I say both. Let's LeBron and Davis. Awesome spot there in Charlotte. It is an island game. They're also questionable, but I guess they're going to play. But again, we will see. Garland also has a knee. They've been kind of babying his minutes. Garland and Mobley there for Cleveland. What's the most important thing injury-wise that we're monitoring? And again, we'll probably get most of it, if not all of it. Cross our fingers. Only one game at 8 o'clock, right? So all of it at least starting at 7:30, starting again in air quotes. But what do you have your eye on? I know even if then we could talk about as well as the show progresses.
Yeah, the thing that scares me the most, I think, is Zion, Herb Jones and Larry Nance being questionable for the Pelicans, because that we might not know. I feel like maybe it was a couple nights ago that Zion was questionable, but then played. But it's hard to know what to do. It's the issue when these teams just keep listing guys as questionable the entire season. We've seen it with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Is then occasionally they start missing games, and it's almost like we have no warning because they've made the questionable tag totally meaningless. But with their behavior throughout the course of the season, just listing the guy always questionable. I guess I'd have to lean towards all 3 of the Pelicans probably playing. Zion played through the questionable tag, I think, last game. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult to know. Oh, you're on mute.
Maybe they have Zion and Larry Nance sit, and they let Jonas Valanciunas have a good old-fashioned revenge game here against Toronto, which I think that's one of the sneakier plays if we don't have that information. And it's also a Toronto team. It's not just playing in the back half of a back-to-back. It's not just a Toronto team. It's playing on the road. They also played in a double overtime game yesterday, so they're pretty tired. And I guess one of the reasons why I suppose they ruled out RJ Barrett. Of course, Porter didn't play yesterday. He's not going to play again today. Wouldn't shock me if Toronto. The Pirtle one is really interesting. And I was going to, speaking of props, it was against OKC, and I chickened out, man. I was really mad at myself because Pirtle had like a line of 7 rebounds yesterday. And I'm like, oh, man, that is like, of course, if he's getting his full allotment against OKC, one of the worst rebounding teams in the league, I was going to write it up for scores and odds. I was going to hammer it, and I just kind of backed down on it. And, the game went like double overtime. He ended up playing 30-plus minutes or so, and he surpassed that so easily. I'm curious. I think there's a chance he might sit because they've been kind of babying his minutes too, but nothing on that out there. And actually, if I'm playing Valanciunas, if I'm thinking like maybe Zion sits or something like that, or Nance sits, I kind of want Pirtle out there. Just you want another big in the other side, because otherwise, there's a path where Zion doesn't play, Nance doesn't play, and even Jonas still gets his minutes cut because New Orleans is not afraid to play small, like with like Marshall or something, Ingram playing the 5 or whatever, something goofy like that. Yeah, I kind of want Pirtle out there, but again, that's stuff we don't know. Just sort of things I was thinking a possible pass because I think Valanciunas is a really interesting play, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as far as if-thens. Just say hello to chat. What's up, chat? Kindly hit that like button. Do you subscribe? Turn on those notifications. Do all those things. Hit all the buttons. Join the conversation because we got plenty of time. We got plenty of time to talk it through. Whatever's on your mind, by all means. Let's have a conversation in regards to the slate. Mr. Girk says, why am I getting so much Larry Nance? Because he's like 3-2 on DK.
Yeah.
That's the reason. Yeah, when was the last time we saw Nance at 3-2? It feels like it's been a while. Basically.
Yeah. I automatically know he's playing DraftKings because Nance is 4,800 on FanDuel. So yeah, getting a lot more of them on DraftKings.
Yeah. I went on my rant about DK's pricing a few weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, whatever. And I'm not saying that I moved the needle in any possible way. That's not what I'm suggesting here. But certainly DK has loosened things up. Maybe too much, but they've definitely loosened things up. But, always the top tier was like amazing. It's the 10K guys are all spectacular and they're too cheap. But it's like the guys that are like, they were like 6 or 7K when they should have been like 4 or 5K. And now it feels like everything's kind of soft. So we don't necessarily have to mess with that stuff. And also we're getting a lot of situations, all-star break around the corner with just a lot of teams just like they're beat up. They need a break. Resting situations. Memphis was playing dudes. I don't know if I was aware of half their players the other night. That was yesterday, right?
Yeah,
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know who some of those guys were, but like they did pretty well because they only had 7, or I guess they had 8 bodies. Had to have 8 official bodies. Darth Toasty says Fernando for 30 FanDuel points tonight. Yeah, I was in the Discord earlier today. It's funny. I was in Discord earlier today. RotoGrinders.com/Discord, the NBA channel. There's many channels. Many channels are free. Most of the channels are free. And I saw somebody ask Fernando or Larry Nance. The absence of Capella opens up Fernando. We're going to see an incredible amount of Okongwu. Yeah. But I think Nance looks better than Fernando to me if I'm picking one of those two. Of course, you need Nance in. If he's not in, then I guess it's got to be Fernando by default. But we'll have those conversations throughout the day. Is there any that's like a lock button for you right now? I don't know how many lineups you're rolling out today. Probably a bunch. So maybe that's not necessarily something you consider.
Yeah, I'll do like the 150 like biggest contest on FanDuel and DraftKings. And I actually do kind of like Bruno Fernando. I agree that like if I look at the projections on DraftKings, I've got Nance projected above Fernando. Fernando's like 3,000. Larry Nance is 3,200. But that's actually kind of a weird decision point. I don't mind the idea of playing some Bruno Fernando because I think Okongwu is going to be absurdly popular. Like he's probably my top play is Okongwu on both sides. If you look at like both sites, who's the guy I'm just getting the most of? It's Okongwu. And he's got, I think, because he's eligible forward now too. So that helps a lot. But then I think Bruno Fernando is an interesting play. Like I actually wrote him up as my contrarian play of the day, tagged him in lineup HQ because he's had good games. Like the 2 games that Capella's missed, that Okongwu has started, like Bruno Fernando has done pretty well. And so they will like split the minutes probably evenly. So if something happens to Okongwu, whether foul trouble, whatever, Bruno Fernando could be the guy that like weirdly breaks the slate.
We are giving a Kungu 32 and Fernando 15. So essentially, like you said, chopping up the center minutes, 1 minute just kind of just dispersed elsewhere. But that's kind of sort of somewhat where we're at. We just got an update when it comes to projections, an update when it comes to ownership about 20 minutes or so ago. I think the Kungu thing is a little bit low personally. I actually think our projection of a Kungu was a little low, and that this isn't my department. Obviously somebody else spent more time with this than I did, but I think it's a little soft on a Kungu with 29 DK points and 28% ownership. I don't know. It feels a little low to me. That could change, or maybe my read is wrong as a median projection. Am I wrong on that?
No, I think you're right. And to be clear, we have him projected as the third highest owned guy on FanDuel and DraftKings, and I think it'll probably be higher. Like he'll probably be potentially the highest owned guy on both sites. It's a good setup for him whenever Capella misses.
Yeah. I feel like people love, it's a super obvious one. Like the Capella's out, and all of a sudden, all the minutes, the most he can handle, essentially. The elevation of a Kungu minutes, like at least 10 minutes or so. He's typically getting like 22, 23, 24, depending on how well he's playing, depending on Capella foul trouble. And now we got him positioned for like low 30s. All right. Anything else we should point out as far as, by the way, ownership wise, I'm looking at the ownership. The most popular play on the slate, and it's really, really close on DK. Like Cam Johnson seems a little bit too cheap there, 31% ownership, 5K. Lonnie Walker, which is, man, I know he's been getting a ton of minutes more minutes of late. General rule, Squirrel, and I guess we can talk about this, dig into more, but for me, a general rule of like a player is really reliant on scoring, and that's their path. They got to score. If they don't score, you're in trouble. I don't like to play players that are super reliant on scoring points and coming off the bench at really high ownership, and that's what Lonnie Walker is. So I don't know. I'm curious what your thoughts are on Lonnie Walker. I don't know if you want to give like a little bit of tease, but I'm just a little hesitant.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Brooklyn guys seem like really fragile, like kind of fragile chalk there. So I don't know. I don't mind. I agree. I don't mind Lonnie Walker. It's one of those situations where I'll probably be playing a lot of him, but I'll potentially also be under the field. So I never know to say whether I'm high on the guy or low on the guy, right? Like he's going to be in a bunch of my lineups. Hopefully not as much as the rest of the field, because he's underpriced. You've been doing well, but I agree. It seems fragile.
The other part of that, the counter is, he's 4K. So, if he was 5K, and I guess he wouldn't be as popular, obviously, but just, what do you have to do? What do you really need to do at 4K to like not completely implode my lineup? We just got a Cody Martin rolled out, which feels kind of, I wouldn't say insignificant, but he was one of the most popular players projected on FanDuel. Ownership wise, he was coming in at 42% because he's 4.9. And depending on where you're shopping, FanDuel, I'm sure if you're making lineups on both sides, and you are, your DK lineups look a lot better than your FanDuel lineups. It's value plays on FanDuel are kind of tough. I guess this is going to elevate Nick Smith. I assume is going to be one of the bigger benefactors. The Ish Smith thing. How much is Ish? Is he also? We have an if then for that. I guess we can talk about that. But Charlotte, do you like trusting Charlotte, especially their guards? Not really. What are your thoughts? Yeah,
we should get Chief in here to give us like the Charlotte take. But I agree. Like I really liked Brandon Miller anyway, so I'm gonna like Brandon Miller even more. I think the problem is he's not like a cheap guy we can go to, which probably means we're getting even more like a Kongwu and Fernando. But I agree. Like Nick Smith will have to be in the picture, but they aren't like playing him as much as I thought they would. I guess he got like 25 minutes last game, 21 minutes. So that's maybe starting to creep up a little bit into what I thought they would do. But it seems like everybody wants to go to Ish Smith. Like Ish Smith is going to get the minutes. Like we know who Ish Smith is. And like the production seems to be going to Brandon Miller. So like the projections are going to suddenly boost Ish Smith. And I'm like, no, I want to like manually like increase Brandon Miller there, because he's the guy that's been going crazy. And like it makes sense. Like he's their highly drafted rookie. They got to give the fans something to root for here. So like let's throw Brandon Miller out for a bunch of minutes, like have him shoot as much as he wants, pass as much as he wants, rebound, and put up some good box scores.
He almost got me there last night, Brandon Miller. I was in the Unfortunately, I didn't have it in the 2-2-2, but I had it in the 44-44, and I think I finished like second or third in that. With Brandon Miller was kind of like my most under-owned player. Him and the Memphis guys, who I don't remember their names at this point, but I can't pronounce half their names either. But yeah, he looked awesome. I think Miller's going to be like legit good. Like good job for Charlotte. I think they might actually found somebody. 25 shots last night, 37 minutes. The usage has been highly elevated. The absence of Rozier. It is the third game in 4 nights for them, but they really don't have much else anyway. So I think Miller is a spectacular play, and it is it's trade week, right? This is the trade deadline on Thursday. You got to showcase Ish Smith. There's a lot of GMs out there that have no Ish Smith. We got to see. Oh my God, this guy just put up 20 and 7 versus the Lakers. We got to trade for this guy. Never even heard of him. Yeah. But there might be some stuff like that. You never know, right? Who knows what's going on there? And all the trade rumors, only like a third of those guys ever end up get traded at the most. It's more rumors than nothing than anything else. But it was something to monitor, I suppose. I'm going to give the projection team some time to let's skip that Lakers Charlotte game because we'll go back to it and talk about Sacramento Cleveland first and give them a chance to give us the the updated projections with Martin being out. Anything else we should say before we dive in and knock out this 6-gamer?
No, we did just get Chiefs input on the Charlotte, but it was just that they stink. So
I appreciate that expert. I didn't know they stink, so I appreciate that expert analysis.
It's like not knowing who Ish Smith is. Yeah.
I feel bad for Will, but just any fans of it's not their fault. It's just the organizations are terrible. All right.
Well, I'm a Wizards fan, so I can as a Wizards fan, I can totally empathize with what he's going through.
Oh, do you have thoughts on the Commanders and their new hirings? As far as any opinions there, Quinn, is he going to turn the whole thing around?
I trust the new regime way more than the old regime. So I'm hopeful. Yeah. I'm actually hopeful with the Commanders.
A low bar.
First time in probably since the RG3 years. That at least they're going to maybe be headed in the right direction with competent management. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Whereas other franchises, like the Wizards, totally giving up on them. I totally accept. They are not going to be competitive within my lifetime. Starting from the time in the 80s, right when I started following the team, I'm going to live my entire life without them ever being competitive. I've accepted that, but hopeful for the Commanders. And the Nationals. I think they have a good organization. They're on hard times now, but they're developing prospects and making appropriate trades and setting up a window potentially where if the young guys develop, right, they could be competitive. So hopefully the Commanders will follow that path. Not as hopeful with the Wizards.
What is the best Wizards team you had in your lifetime? Wizards/Bullets. I don't know if it goes back to the Bullets, but I'm trying to think. When were they good or even relevant? Yeah. When was the last time the Wizards a good team?
The only time I think they were remotely competitive, actually competitive, where they had the chance to make the conference finals was the John Wall, the ultimate John Wall Bradley Beal team. They lost to the Celtics. I want to say 2016, 2017. Yeah, it was 2017. That team was the best, and that team, the best of the John Wall Bradley Beal teams, had a couple of years. The Gilbert Arenas teams were okay. I don't think they were ever as good as those teams. And Chris Webber, Calvert Cheney, DeJuan Howard, that combination in the late 90s was looked like it was going to become something and never did. But yeah, that was the team that probably had the most potential, just never came together. So
yeah, the Nationals had a nice run for you. I believe I saw they signed Joey Gallo, if I'm not mistaken. Am I making that up? Does that sound right?
I did not see that, but actually I like him as a player because he's I like him as a FanDuel DraftKings player, right? Because nobody ever plays him.
Oh, sure.
140. Then I'll match 2 home runs, and it doesn't matter that they're either the next 20 games he's not going to get a hit.
Yeah, great tournament play. He is officially. I had to Google and confirm. I wasn't sure if I was making that up, but yeah, he's a member of the Nationals. Still just 30 years old. And I guess he'll be playing first base for you guys. All right, let's dive in. Let's talk about it. Let's go game by game. Very first game we're going to talk about is the Sacramento Kings at the Cleveland Cavaliers, 234.5. That is the total. The Kings are 4-point dogs here on the road. Who's in and who's out for this one? Well, Sacramento, they are pretty healthy, right? The only person that's questionable is Vinzenkoff. It doesn't matter so much. The Cavaliers, Jared Allen's got that ankle, so he's questionable. Darius Garland's got a knee, so he is questionable. We know Tristan Thompson is suspended. We're, of course, projecting Allen and Garland to play. I think that is the most likely scenario. I guess we're just not getting minutes boost here for these Cleveland guys, Mobley and Garland. Still Mobley at 25, Garland at 25. It's really hard to play them at that minute projection. Donovan Mitchell is, the big stud here on Cleveland. As always, tends to be always. He kind of gets lost amongst the studs on slates, but he is coming in at 15%. Jared Allen, 10%. Feels like a good spot for him if he can avoid foul trouble. Tough cover on the other side in Sabonis. Let's talk about the Cavs first. What's your thoughts as far as Cleveland?
So this is probably the overall game I'm getting the least amount of. And it's hard to know. Kind of assuming Jared Allen is in and then nobody really looks that good. You can always play Donovan Mitchell because you can always have a good game. And Sacramento is not the worst matchup in the world. So I think it's probably more on DK than FanDuel. But looking at Donovan Mitchell, but 4 out of the last 5 games over 55 DraftKings points, 9,700. That's pretty good. I'd probably prefer to try to get up to Luka, but a lot of people will. And if Luka has an off game, he's a little bit injured. So I think you can take some shots on Donovan Mitchell, but nothing for smaller fields in the entry. Probably leaving this entire game pretty much alone.
Yeah, I don't love this game either. Pulling up the if-then. I think we have an if-then for Jared Allen. We have one for Garland. If Garland doesn't go, Mitchell and I guess LeVert would get the biggest boost, right? LeVert would get 32 minutes, and he's currently projected for 25, so he would get a 7-minute jump. Sam Merrill, not really. Mitchell, LeVert, and Allen would be the positive DK values. Allen would not be a positive FanDuel value, just his price. It doesn't mean you can't play him, obviously, but just price-wise, not as appealing. By the way, in chat, J3 is reminiscing. John Wall mailing a 3 to send it to 7 in Boston, or Gill beating Chicago in the playoffs. Is that Anthony Gill? Did Anthony Gill hit a game-winning shot against the Bulls in the playoffs?
No. That was the
Kendall Gill?
Wizard. No, this was the Gilbert Arenas. Arenas,
okay.
Yeah, hit a shot against to beat the Bulls in a playoff series, and the Wizards printed up T-shirts as if they'd won the championship because it was the first time they had advanced in the playoffs in 30 years. So so maybe so I think it was probably 25 years. The first time 25 years or so, 25, 30 years they had advanced in the playoffs. So they printed up T-shirts and everybody celebrated on the court as if they just won the championship.
And you know what? That was their chance. Good for them. Zubac, by the way, officially ruled out as we were talking about. That's not a surprise. On the back half of back-to-back, he just came back, and he played limited minutes. I think he played 18 minutes or so last night. Ntilikina's not playing basketball tonight, and Cody Martin, we mentioned he's not playing. Tobias Harris, the update is no update. He is still questionable. Evan Mobley, right on cue, still limited to 26 minutes per Coach Bickerstaff. I guess, I don't know. I feel like this is going to kind of be the way until the All-Star break or something. I'm not sure, but that's we have several of these guys now, right? Paul George was limited 30 minutes or so. Mobley, Garland. The Halliburton thing is so weird what Indiana's doing. I think it's just to get him to 65 games until we can get paid more. Which I guess is nice. It's nice of them to do that, but because if you make all NBA, it's a strange way they're tying the contracts together. But if you make all NBA, your max contract, it's 40 or 50 million bucks. It's a big deal as far as the difference. So yeah, I get it. But
I think they have to I think the guys will all think they would have been all NBA if I just played the 65 games, right? It's the organization's got to be all right, we're going to roll you out there for 65 games, 20 or 22 minutes a game or whatever.
Is that a terrible idea, tying the max, the all NBA max contract? It seems this situation is not ideal, is it? I don't think it is.
Yeah, it might be one of those things where each step of the process makes sense, but the overall thing just doesn't make sense. It makes sense to tie some of the contract stuff to all NBA teams and stuff. That's fine. It's any other incentive, and it makes sense to you got to play a certain number of games to make the the all NBA team, right? But then you've got this situation where the guys are just going out there. But I do think at some point, if they play 20 minutes a game for enough games, at some point their averages start to go down. And then it's guys only average 19.5 points per game. So, that's only, only played 22 minutes a game. It was like, well, it's because you were injured, right? So I don't know. I think it'll be overall an effective strategy. But I do think a lot of these guys will be like, well, I would have been an all NBA if you had allowed me to play the 65 games or whatever.
Yeah. By the way, Leaky Black is going to draw the start for Charlotte now. I feel like that might be fool's gold. I'm curious where he's going to project, but Washington's going to come off the bench. He'll play more minutes. McGowan's not starting. We're projecting it to be Ish Smith, Brandon Miller, Leaky Black, Bridges, and Richards. You talk about the Cavs. What about the Kings? How do you feel about Sacramento in Cleveland? This is another one where I'm not terribly in love with as far as the Sacramento side.
Yeah, it's not a great matchup for them. I do like Malik Monk. His price came down a lot just in time for him to start playing well again. He was like beginning of the month, but about a month ago he was about 6,800. Now he's 5,700. So it's a really big discount. It wasn't like for any particular reason. He just had some bad games. So he's a guy you can get to, but way more of him on FanDuel and DraftKings. DraftKings 5,400. I think like that's just relatively more expensive. And there's less at like point guard, shooting guard, I think on FanDuel. So do like some Malik Monk on FanDuel, but it's like not a great matchup overall for Sacramento. It's not one of the higher point total games of the night. I used to like go out of my way to stack every game. I don't do that as much anymore because like this is a game that like everyone's pretty well priced. And it's one of the lower point totals of the game, of the slate. So like even if it goes into overtime, it might not get there.
Yeah, I like the Monk call. Like you're getting him a little bit cheaper. And like you said, like he was on a downswing. He was getting like 15 or 20 minutes. So his minutes were cut severely. And that was because in part that Red Velvet, Kevin Huerter was playing pretty well. Harry Barnes had some good games also. And I think you probably know this better than me, but I would put in rules, right? Like I probably wouldn't play Monk and Huerter together. Probably not. I might say one of Monk, Huerter, and Barnes. You have thoughts on that? I think definitely Huerter and Monk are guys that would eat off each other as far as minutes. I don't think that will play those guys together.
I agree, but like as soon as you set a rule like that, somebody's going to get hurt, and they're going to have to be Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk. Like, oh my god, they both put up 30 points. That was the key to victory that night. So yeah, I agree. That's probably an intelligent rule. I don't like set those kinds of rules as often as I probably should. But yeah, it is like Murphy's Law, right? As soon as you set one of those rules, something's going to happen that totally changes things.
I'm just checking the ownership. We're getting an update here as far as what Sacramento, Cleveland. I'm pulling it up. I'm giving it a refresh because I think we have a new batch of projections. Yeah, as of 5/19, the ownership has not changed for what it's worth. But let's see, as of 5/19, our projections are fresh. So if you're not refreshed in the last 10 minutes or so on the old lineup HQ, do yourself a favor. Most popular player as of a half hour ago is Donovan Mitchell in this game at 14%. Huerter, the aforementioned Huerter, 14%. Trey Lyles is a tricky player. I never know how to play him. I hate when he's chalk. And he's always chalk when like there's no value on the slate. He has those random games where he comes off the bench and just, in 15 minutes just goes nuts and gets a few extra more minutes. How do you play Trey Lyles? Do you know how to play Trey Lyles? Because I don't know how to do that. He never projects well, but every once in a while.
I haven't played a lot of him since he was like on San Antonio and would occasionally like start. I agree. He's like one of those bench players that are so frustrating because like they're consistently kind of the same minutes, same role, and then sometimes they just have really good games. And it's like, oh wow, you need to play a bunch of Trey Lyles. It's like, well, who would have thought Trey Lyles? But he's a guy that you can definitely plug him in there, 3,400. I'm not crazy about it though, right? Like unless something happens, he's probably not going to have a ton of minutes, and he's just not going to be owned by enough lineups that like he's not going to go out there and put up like 50 points, right? He could be really good for the price, but you can probably find somebody else for that price that's having a better game.
All right, let's jump to the Lakers and the Hornets. 226.5 is the total. Lakers here are 12-point favorites. Hornets back half of a back-to-back. They're also missing some players. They've been missing players all season long. Cody Martin was just officially ruled out. Frank Ntilikina was also officially ruled out. Kyle Lowry is never going to sniff the court for Charlotte. We know LaMelo, who was questionable earlier today. At least he was questionable on Underdog, which I thought was kind of surprising. Unsurprisingly, he's not playing basketball tonight. For the Lakers, Jared Vanderbilt's going to be out for a while. Cam Reddish is not available. And then Davis and LeBron are questionable, I guess. Davis has got that hip and an Achilles. He's questionable. LeBron has got an ankle. He's questionable. This is an island game for them. I think it's the last game of the road trip as well. Maybe they picked a spot to rest one of these guys because, they feel like they don't necessarily need both against this depleted Charlotte team. We shall find out soon enough, I guess, if not us. Crunch time will do so. But, thoughts as far as let's knock out the Lakers first.
So, obviously Lakers really dependent on whether or not LeBron and AD play. Anthony Davis is showing up really well on DraftKings. He's been way underpriced on DraftKings compared to FanDuel throughout the season. FanDuel gets an extra point for blocks, but it's doesn't even make up for how much of a discount you get on DraftKings. So he's usually one of the better spend ups for the price on DraftKings. And it's a pretty good matchup for him too against Charlotte. So if he's playing, I'll be playing a good amount of Anthony Davis. After that, don't really love getting to a bunch of LeBron. Just seems like a better matchup for Anthony Davis. And there's really, assuming that Davis and LeBron are in, probably not getting to a bunch of other Lakers.
Yeah, if LeBron, Davis, one or both, and all of a sudden opens the door for guys like D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves. But yeah, I'm with you. Basically, it's the studs or essentially nobody else. The matchup for Davis against his Charlotte front court. Well, Charlotte's terrible in general. They're even worse inside. Davis is going to ravage, PJ Washington and Nick Richards and JT Thor. Whatever they throw at him, it's not going to work out. So I feel really, really good about Davis, assuming he gets to play. As far as the Charlotte side, again, our projected starting lineup: Ish Smith, Brandon Miller, Leaky Black, Miles Bridges, and Nick Rich. Bridges, another guy, boy, on the trade block, allegedly. Bridges and Ish, we'll see. I suppose they would have no issue moving either one of those guys if the opportunity presents itself. It sounds like, I think our favorite play on Charlotte is it Brandon Miller? I feel like it is.
I think so. I'm running some FanDuel lineups with updated projections, and the Charlotte guys are popping up all over the place. So because Nick Smith now is at 3,800, he's one of the better, point per dollar plays. Ish Smith is only $100 more, and projecting a little bit better. So I think that's maybe decision points. How often do Ish Smith and Nick Smith play together? They're probably going to be, if they play together, doing it more so. With Cody Martin out and LaMelo out, the guy that I want to try to be over the field on though I think is probably Brandon Miller, followed by Miles Bridges. But we're gonna have to find some value somewhere, and on FanDuel that seems to be with the really cheap Charlotte guards.
Yeah, so I was going to run some court IQ stuff, and I did. I don't know if you got to it or not, but Ish and Nick have played together this season for 99 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so they will do it, and they're also kind of forced into doing it, right? Because of so many players that are out. Gordon Hayward gets the biggest usage bump, 25% usage bump in this scenario. What is his usage? It's got to be insane, right? Gordon Hayward. Oh, it's 3 minutes. Okay, and he played 3 minutes long with those two guys, and he has a 46% usage. He's not playing tonight. I just thought it was pretty interesting. And I think, can we kick everybody off the court here on court IQ, or we're just going to get nothing? What's our sample going to be? What can we work with? It's sort of I'm trying to figure out. So I just added the two guys on, Ish and Nick, and it's they'll play alongside each other. What is our official minutes? Is it I think I saw 25. Did I hit refresh? What do you have it in front of you? What are you projecting for Ish and Nick minutes wise?
Let's see. Minutes. I think we're looking at 27 for Ish Smith, and 25 for Nick Smith. So some overlap there. And they're both going to project. So Nick Smith on FanDuel, we're projecting now 34% ownership. Ish Smith, way less than that, 4%. Kind of surprised by that. I guess it's we've got Nick Smith projected higher, and he's cheaper, so we're going to see him popping up all over the place. My guess is you should project him about the same, not necessarily. I think it's just difficult to know which one is going to score higher in this situation. I think the guy that I'd want to get is Brandon Miller,
Yeah.
The problem is he's just not cheap. And I do, I think Miles Bridges is a play as well. So that's somebody I'd be interested in getting to. It's going to be interesting if Charlotte has Memphis on the schedule coming up. We're going to get some kind of bananas like starting lineups.
So our ownership stuff has not changed just yet. This is as of like 40 minutes ago or so. And I think this was before Martin was ruled out. But we had Smith getting 34% on FanDuel, which means it probably doesn't go down. If anything, it might go up unless other stuff happens where it would knock it back down. But like, how do you feel about 35% owned Nick Smith on FanDuel?
It's one of those things where I'm going to say I don't like it, but I'm probably going to end up playing it if we don't get more. I would probably not like try to get under the field because he's a rookie. Like things are just heading that way with Charlotte, right? Where they should be getting the young guys on the court. So I was kind of surprised, like when LaMelo was sitting, they weren't playing more Nick Smith. But now they seem to be playing more Nick Smith. Like I'd rather get to Nick Smith than Ish Smith, and he's cheaper. So I'm probably gonna end up playing. Like absent other news, I'm probably gonna be playing a lot Nick Smith than on FanDuel. Yeah,
that's pretty much where I'm at as well. If I play him, I'm going to play him begrudgingly. And like you said, it does make sense. You would think that the organization would want to see what they have. And Nick and Ish, if he's not out the door in a couple days, like he's not when the Hornets are theoretically good, if that ever happens, I promise you, he's not going to be on the team. He's not going to be he's not a part of their future. Let's see, fantasy points per minute on the season. This is just like not kicking anybody off. Just for the year, Smith's at 0.71. Nick Smith, 0.71. Ish is 0.62. Usage-wise, is it kind of similar? Nick is at 19-20. Ish is at 12%. So, Nick just feels like he's got to give him some more run over Ish. Like, I think I prefer Nick over Ish. But, like, ownership stuff does suggest that as well, at least on FanDuel. Is that the same on DK? I'm giving it a refresh now. Is that basically the same we're looking at as far as DraftKings when it comes to those two? Or they're not as necessary just because we have the Brooklyn stuff?
Yeah, I think they're not as necessary because the Brooklyn guys are a lot cheaper. So, and like Nick Smith is 3,800 on DraftKings, whereas I think he's 3,800 on both sites. That's like relatively more on DraftKings, and also like on DraftKings you've got the guys that are like 3,200, 3,000. Like Bruno Fernando, Larry Nance. So like you're getting a lot more of those guys on DraftKings still than Nick Smith.
Anything else to stress as far as the Lakers and Charlotte, or shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move it on.
Okay, Dallas. The Mavs are in Philadelphia. 243 is the total. Dallas is a 3-point favorite. Luka expected to go. Not just Luka, but Kyrie. Kyrie expected to play as well. Maxi Kleber's got that toe, but he's expected to be good to go. We're projecting him to start because Derek Lively's got a nose. He cannot play. He's got a nose. And Dante Exum is out with his knee. Philadelphia, you guys know the deal with Philadelphia. Embiid out for the foreseeable future, possibly the entire regular season. Batum is still out with his hamstring. Tobias Harris has an illness. He's questionable. Seems like he's likely to play. Melton was eyeing coming back tonight. It ain't happening. So still no DeAnthony Melton as well for Philadelphia. We're expecting Maxey, Oubre, Tobias, Marcus Morris, and Paul Reed to draw a start for Philadelphia. This feels like a really, really good DFS game. Even though Kyrie's playing, I still like Luka. His projections are just insane because the minutes are insane. Like they're running him into the ground. What is our minute projection for Luka? Like 39? I'm just guessing. It is 39. Yeah. And like, it could be more. It could be more. Sometimes it's 41, 42. It's outrageous. Maxey on the other side, 38. Your thoughts? And I love Maxey, by the way. I'm not sure, you dig into the, last 10 days stuff or last 10 game stuff. Dallas is the worst defense in all of basketball. Defensive rating last 11 games, the Mavericks are a 126, which is like 4 or 5 points higher than like the worst team of the entire season. Dallas's defense is terrible. Philadelphia, by the way, 5th worst. But defense optional as far as this game, Dallas and Philly. It should be a bonanza for DFS. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I was actually a little bit surprised to see the line was so high, and then looked up like, like Philadelphia's giving up 130 points per game without Joel Embiid. So I think that makes a difference. I think it'll be faster paced without Embiid. Obviously like the Tobias Harris thing is a big question mark. So I'm getting some Tobias Harris on both sites. And so if he's not playing, he would Probably have to give a little bit of a boost, even more of a boost to Tyrese Maxey, who's already like boosted up without Embiid. And then you probably have like some, I don't know, Kelly Oubre stepping in there. He'd probably be getting a boost, and we have to see out of like the really kind of older veterans who's in, who's out. So like, is it Marcus Morris? I don't know. We'll have to just see if Tobias Harris is in. But overall, yeah, it's a game that getting a lot of. It's one of the 2 higher point total games on the night. So yeah, I guess there is a noteworthy difference between the amount of ownership you're getting on Luka on FanDuel versus DraftKings. Like DraftKings, the scoring is set up for Luka with the triple-double bonus, the double-double bonus, the bonus for 3-pointers. So he actually scores much better on DraftKings. He's only 12,000 over there, and it's just easier to get him in on DraftKings with the 3,000, the 3,200 guys compared to FanDuel, where like if you want to play some Luka, you're probably playing some like Nick Richards as well.
We just got an ownership update, by the way. Not sure how much has changed, but I'm curious to see. I am pulling up the if-then. We have an if-then for Tobias, talking about if he doesn't play. And again, my guess is he plays. If he doesn't, Maxey is going to be awesome. 52 DK point projection, 50 FanDuel point projection. He's jumping off the page as far as a DK value and an FD value. What's interesting is that everybody else is still negative. Now, yeah, you can play them. Oubre's fine. Reed's fine. Marcus Morris, I guess, is fine. Beverly's fine. But nobody really comes off as a quote-unquote value. They're close to, neutral as far as Oubre and Reed. But Maxey is the one you want. Of course, you got to pay for him as well. Let's see what we got ownership-wise now on DK in this game with the new projections coming in. Luka at 26%, Harris at 22%, Maxey at 20%, Kyrie at 16%. Kyrie's a tricky one, man. Like, how do you quantify? I guess he's fine if he's going to play, but dealing with a thumb, I think that thumb is on his shooting hand, if I'm not mistaken. Still he's the 1B to Luka. But, how are you handling the Luka-Kyrie situation and the rest of the Dallas guys? I know I saw somebody in chat asking about Richaun Holmes. If he's not starting, I don't want to say you can't play him, but there's no chance I'm playing him because he's a DMP CD threat if he does not start the game. So just understand that if you're putting him in your lineup, he really should be starting, and I don't think he will. I think Maxey's going to start. Your thoughts?
Yeah. So I don't think I'm playing Richaun Holmes. I don't think he's played this month. So I mean, obviously that changes if he's in the starting lineup. But he's actually 4,000 on FanDuel. Check the DK price, 3,700. Like we potentially have better options on Richaun, than Richaun Holmes on both sites. Playing a lot of Luka on DraftKings. Those bonuses actually boost up his score. I mean, look and see he's got scores in the triple digits, right? It's hard not to go there. Last 4 games, 68.75, 83.75, 75.5. And 101.5 DraftKings points at 12,000. I will still take that at 12,000. He's like a little bit less appealing on FanDuel, so I don't mind being under the field on him on FanDuel and over the field on him in DraftKings. And then the Philadelphia side, I gotta wait and see with Tobias Harris.
Oh boy! So Paul Reed. By the way, Richaun Holmes did have that one game where he played 30 minutes or so and was awesome at 3K 5 days ago, whatever it was. But for the most part, you're right, Holmes essentially has not really been in the rotation. But Reed is a what's that?
Richaun Holmes revenge game? I feel like I've seen Richaun Holmes in a Philadelphia uniform before.
He did. He was on. Richaun Holmes was on those TJ McConnell teams when Philadelphia was in the full tank mode. It was Holmes, TJ McConnell, and who was the point guard that was the number 1 pick or so? His opening night, you got
MCW.
MCW, yes. I feel like that was those guys were a big part of the tank contingency. I'm not. It feels like it's been a while since Holmes played for Philadelphia, but yeah, he was a fun roster back in the day. Paul Reed, by the way, still dealing with that illness. He didn't play a lot of minutes over the weekend, 15 minutes. So why play him? According to Nurse, he's still dealing with his illness. He was limited to 15 minutes on Saturday. What do I do with that? Now, can I play Reed? I mean, I think he's going to play more than 15 minutes. He probably feels a little bit better incrementally. But does that mean he's not going to play 30, 31, 32? Is he going to play 25? And if not, how ambitious do we want to be? Do we want to think about Mo Bamba? Is Mo Bamba all of a sudden interesting? He's a pretty good fantasy player, especially when it comes to stocks when he gets going. How do we handle this situation, Reed and his minutes? Because I don't like that note. I thought he'd be better.
I'm probably just ignoring the situation. Even if like Tobias Harris is out, I'd probably go elsewhere if I have to go to Philadelphia guys, which I'm not forced to do. Like Mo Bamba is unfortunately priced up 4,500 on DraftKings, 4,600 on FanDuel. Like FanDuel, he can always get there with like 3 points per blocks if he gets like 5 blocks in 12 minutes. It's like, well, I should have played some Mo Bamba. But
it's happened before, but it's unlikely. Yeah, but it's happened before.
Exactly. I don't know that I want to chase that kind of scenario. If Paul, I'm not playing a ton of Paul Reed. If he is limited, that's fine. I think I want to just go elsewhere outside of this game rather than trying to play some Mo Bamba. I would, take a look at who's starting if Tobias Harris is out. Like Daniel House might be an option. Would just have to see who's getting the minutes. There is the possibility somebody like sneaks in as a value play.
Yeah, like one of House, Korkmaz, Martin, or Springer, like theoretically can break through, but you don't feel good about any of them individually, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. And we just have to see who's starting.
Marcus Morris is somebody else I don't feel good about, and he's projected to start. But maybe theoretically, if Reed loses a couple minutes, maybe a couple go to Morris. He's currently projected for 23. Is this a revenge game? Didn't he play for Dallas, or was that his brother? One of the Morrises played for Dallas.
I think it was Dallas.
They're pretty tight, though. They're pretty tight. They have matching tattoos. They lived together with their girlfriends at one point when they were playing in Phoenix, I believe. That as twins go, I think they're really, really close. So maybe like on, he's volunteering for tribute on behalf of Markeith and get some revenge. I don't know. But I don't want to play Marcus Morris, though, as a general thought. Do you?
I don't want to. He has started some games and has not looked terrible. I would probably have to go there. I think it would end up being Marcus Morris. And he would end up being like one of those value guys on FanDuel that gets us off of like some amount of Nick Smith. So 4,200 on FanDuel, 4,500 on DraftKings. So a little bit less appealing on DraftKings. He doesn't play a ton of minutes even when he starts. And he has like some starts that are total duds too. But it'd be a value piece we have to consider if he's in the starting lineup.
Brian in chat, does Maxey get up for playing against his hometown team? I was not aware of this narrative. Is he from Dallas? I think Maxey scores like 40 points tonight. I don't know if that's a hot take. You want a hot take? There's a hot take. I just think he's just going to score a ton. I bet his over with 29.5 or so in the sports books. By the way, I was on the sports book. It was Hard Rock. They write it different ways. So you can bet it over under 29.5 at minus 115, or you can bet it 30 points or more at minus 125. Which one do you want to bet? I love when they do that. It's like, and some people just aren't paying attention. It's like, come on, man.
I've always thought, is there any scenario where, I've noticed that discrepancy as well. Like, why is there some kind of some hidden rule in there somewhere? Terms and conditions, right? Like the game's suspended, right? So they hit 29.5, but not 30. I've been racking my brain trying to figure out, why is there a discrepancy there in the pricing? Yeah, it's probably just an oversight.
They're either not on top of it, or I don't know if they're trying to take advantage of it. I don't know what's going on there, but as always, shop for the best lines possible. Use scores and odds. Scores and odds will steer you in the right direction as far as finding the best lines possible. It'll show you like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 different books, depending on the live odds. And, but obviously, depending on what state you're in, you don't have access to all of them. But that's the tricky thing with me. I just have one. I got one book to work with. But certainly that's something. One of the biggest edges in sports gambling is getting the best odds. I know it sounds very, very simple, but just shopping for the best odds is so, so important. All right. Do you agree with Maxey, by the way? Are you going to be over the field on Maxey? I just think, again, just the way Dallas is playing defensively of late, there's no rim protector here. You think Kyrie or Luka is going to defend Maxey? Like, who are they going to throw on him? Who's going to stop him? Somebody just kind of think of it that way. There's no Herb Jones or whatever. I don't know. Lou Dort, Torture Chamber. Just thinking of defensive
Yeah,
players.
anecdotally, like I'm a little bit down on him without Embiid. Like if Tobias misses, then we'd have to go there.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right. Like Dallas isn't going to play defense. We should probably be playing a bunch of Tyrese Maxey. I'm not right now. That'll change I'm playing some. I don't prefer him as a spend up unless Tobias is out.
Dallas side, Luka, let's see, I think was it 26% currently on DK, and you were talking about on FanDuel, just a little bit tougher, just because you're not getting those bonuses. You're not getting a bonus for a 3-pointer. You're not getting a bonus for the inevitable double-double, the potential triple-double, and also just the discrepancy in price and how it's trickier just to make a big spend work on FanDuel as opposed to DK. So, and the ownership's going to reflect that, right? 28% for Luka on DK and 19% on FanDuel. Dex in chat says he's got Maxey, Mitchell, and AD. Am I doing it wrong? I just wonder what the rest of your team looks like, Matt. There, Dex. That's 3 studs. Can we get 3 studs tonight on a team? That seems hard to do. Can you get 3 studs on a lineup?
I don't know about on FanDuel. I think DraftKings, like you start playing some Bruno Fernando and Larry Nance, and things start to open up. That would be difficult on FanDuel.
John says Maxey's played Dallas 5 times in his career and never hit 40 DK points. Well, he's also probably never played them without Embiid and at the peak of his powers. Like he also wasn't great a couple years ago. Is AD officially out? Is that what I'm seeing? That would definitely shake up the slate. No Anthony Davis? Is it a LeBron night in Charlotte? At least this is according to
yet.
Darth Toasty. If we're to trust Darth Toasty in chat, AD is not playing tonight. Is that fake news? Darth, what's your source here? Because I don't see it on the Twitter. He's currently questionable. And you got nothing, Squirrel?
I'm not seeing anything. If that was to happen, it would be like loading up on LeBron. But I'm seeing no confirmation from that from the sources that tend to be the fastest with this kind of thing.
All right. Tim in chat telling us that it's not official for what it's worth. Final word as far as Dallas and Philly.
No, I do think the game's got some good potential. So I don't love the idea of like stacking like the Sacramento Cleveland game. But if you're going to stack a game, this is not a bad one to try to force in some 3-player, 4-player game stacks.
All right, Clippers, Hawks, Clippers back half of a back-to-back on the road. I think this is the end of like a 6 or 7 or an 8 game road trip, a long road trip for them. 243.5 is a total. It's a big boy number and it's relatively close. Atlanta just a 4-point dog here. Zubac not playing tonight on the back half. Paul George, I guess, is going to play. Nothing has popped up to say otherwise, but wouldn't be shocking. Wouldn't be shocking if something happened there. As far as Atlanta, Sadiq Bey is questionable with his ankle. We know Capella is out, meaning Okongwu. It's on Okongwu season. DeAndre Hunter, he's got the injury management, so he's questionable. Clippers, Atlanta. This feels the George thing is tricky because his price is down. But again, if he's going to play and he's only going to play 30 minutes, what's the point? Is that enough? Is that enough to squeeze out, or do we just get some Kawhi? Do we get some Harden? Who should play a little bit more? Your thoughts as far as Clippers, Atlanta?
So it's another good game. So another game's got a pretty good total. Getting all the Okongwu just everywhere because he's FanDuel 6,000, but he's got power forward eligibility. DraftKings 5,100. Also, is he power forward center on both? Yeah, he's power forward center on both sides. So that's just going to get him into a ton of lineups. His fantasy production is always there if he can stay out of foul trouble and get the minutes. So I'm going to be playing a lot of him. And then there is this thought that if I'm not playing Okongwu, I should probably be playing some Bruno Fernando because that is the one thing that could interrupt his good night is maybe some foul trouble, and then you're probably going to be getting a lot of Bruno Fernando minutes. So I don't know that I will even set a rule that I need to have at least one in both lineups.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, I'll probably set a rule for most of my lineups that I don't want both of them, and then be boosting some Bruno Fernando to get a little more of them.
By the way, I ran some more optimal stuff, and Smith is landing in a lot of things, man. Nick Smith is 22-point projection on DK at 3.8K, and that's just DraftKings. I imagine he's like we talked about it. He's probably hitting FanDuel too because there's less value options over there. So, man, I don't know how I feel about that. I really want them to play him more, but like Charlotte doesn't always necessarily do what you want them to do. Yeah, okay. Well, we can circle back on that, I suppose. So Kungwu, the second most popular player, and then Leaky Blackett. I don't feel confident about Leaky Black either. I don't like that if that's going to be popular. What is his official projection, Leaky Black?
I was going to say that we should play Leaky Black as a sneaky play. If he's seeing ownership, that is not sneaky anymore. so I would not do that because
it does not appear he's sneaky.
Was it?
It does not appear he's going to be sneaky. The stuff that I'm running, what I'm seeing right now, draw him the start and projected for 26 minutes. Oh, you know what? I started typing in Malik because that's his real name, and I got Monk, and I'm like, that's a weird projection. That's a different Malik. All right. Yeah, he's 3-3 and projected for 18 fantasy points, 25 minutes. And he's hitting some stuff right now, but I don't know. I don't feel great about that. Let's how about Trae Young and DeJounte Murray? We talked about Okongwu, and Jalen Johnson is spectacular, although the price is kind of sort of somewhat catching up with him. But how do we feel about Trae Young, who's going to get, I think, very little ownership tonight, right?
Yeah, actually, I think that's a good play. I think he's one of those guys that's not appearing in optimal lineups, so he's going to end up with like pretty low ownership, 9,500 on DraftKings. Like the Clippers aren't a team that I want to pick on, but like Trae's been doing it all lately. Not as high on getting to DeJounte Murray, but I do like the idea of like pairing some Trae Young and some Okongwu or Trae Young and some Fernando. And you can maybe play a Clipper in that lineup and you're getting a little bit of a mini game stack, or maybe you're just playing like Okongwu and Trae Young.
Power rank the Clippers for me.
Ooh. I think so. It might depend on the site a little bit, but I like Kawhi probably first, then James Harden, especially on FanDuel. Like on FanDuel, I'd say it's Kawhi, James Harden, Mason Plumlee. On DraftKings, I'm going to go probably Mason Plumlee first, and then probably Kawhi, then Harden.
Are you factoring in the gentlemen's clubs in Atlanta and James Harden? The reputation that Atlanta's known for. Many years ago, there was that lawsuit that Patrick Ewing was involved in.
Yeah,
does that factor in your projections?
The Gold Club dancers.
There you go. Yeah. You're on top of it.
I don't know how I remember.
I don't know if it's still modern day, if it's still a thing. I don't know, but I can't speak to it. But,
I was not factoring that in, but I am now. So maybe that's James Harden above Kawhi on DraftKings.
Oh, and Harden gets a boost. You're giving him a boost because of it. He's going to play better. Is that what?
That's right. We're supposed to boost him down. I don't know.
Well, it's your opinion.
Yeah,
I don't know which way to boost him. Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's just throwing it out there if we're considering that or not. Anything else of note that we should mention as far as Atlanta and the Clippers before we knock out two more games? We got two more to go. Whatever's in the chat's fine by all means. Apparently, according to the chat, the Gold Club is no longer a thing. Yes, modern day. I don't know Atlanta's layout currently, but I guess the Gold Club no longer exists. I imagine something replaced it. I can't speak to that.
Yeah, I got to boost Harden then.
There you go. There's Kirkwood in chat. He says he's been to the Gold Club back in the day. Well, there you go. He can attest to it. He was hanging out with, I don't know, Patrick Ewing, whoever it was. I don't remember what the lawsuit was. But anyways, shall we move on? Anything else when it comes to the Clippers and the Hawks?
I do. I think it's a good game to stack a little bit. And I don't mind taking like some money, going with some Clippers in some lineups as a, if you've got the money, right? Like if you're playing a bunch of like Bruno or Congo, like run it back with some Clippers instead of like going to like Anthony Davis or, with some, like I like being over the field on Luka on DraftKings. But out of my 150 lineups, we'll be like not playing some Luka, we'll be playing some Kawhi paired with like the Hawks.
Is there a chance you'll have like 90% of Kongwu tonight?
Yeah, there's a chance. I don't know it'll be that high, but that it actually sounds reasonable. I'd actually maybe go a little bit lower and try to be a little bit higher on Bruno Fernando. But we'll be playing like more Okongwu than I usually like max out on a player, I think.
Yeah, I don't make many lineups, and I feel like he's probably going to be in every lineup I make tonight. Golden State, Brooklyn, 237.5 is the total. It's high and it's tight, right? Golden State just a 1-point favorite here. They've been playing better of late. Wiggins, is Wiggins officially ruled out? I think he's doubtful. Andrew Wiggins, that is. The new starting lineup of Curry, they're expecting Podziemski.
Yeah.
Why can't I pronounce that? Brandon, Podziemski, Klay Thompson, and Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga has been spectacular the last, 10 games or so. The Draymond coming back seems to revive this team as well. Kevon Looney has essentially gone to bed. I think he's just playing enough minutes to keep his game streak alive. They want to keep that alive. Brook on the other side, they are without Ben Simmons, who's got a rest. DFS is not playing basketball tonight. DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr., should be good to go with his foot. And Day'Ron Sharpe, who's been out, is still out. So looks like they have 10 official bodies. That's including Harry Giles and Watford, DSJ. So, pretty clear. Some tight minutes there for the Brooklyn side. Golden State, Brooklyn, start wherever you want to start.
Getting a bunch of Brooklyn guys, especially on DraftKings, and getting a lot of Brandon Podziemski. And I'm not necessarily going to run away from it, but I will try to pair the Podziemski with the Brooklyn guys, and you got to limit some of this Brooklyn exposure. I'm not going to be running lineups five Brooklyn guys. They're all a little bit underpriced, especially on DraftKings. But they're not all going to go berserk. This. I don't think this game has a particularly high total. I mean, it's 238, so I think that's third out of the games out of the 6 games, right? So it seems high, but it's not necessarily that high. I don't know. Yeah, all the Brooklyn guys are a little bit too cheap. Lonnie Walker is 4,000 on DraftKings, 5,000, 5,700, 5,600. Yeah, 5,600 on FanDuel. So getting a lot more of Lonnie Walker on DraftKings. I'll probably just use these Brooklyn guys as a bunch of filler. And they're the prices are different between FanDuel and DraftKings. On FanDuel, the guy I'm getting the most of is Cameron Thomas, followed by Mikal Bridges. On DraftKings, it's Lonnie Walker and Cameron Johnson. So I will probably end up using these guys as filler, whichever one is cheapest on whatever site I'm playing. They're all fine. I could definitely see a couple of these guys being on the winning lineup. I don't necessarily see 5, 6, Brooklyn guys on the winning lineup.
What's the cap? 3 or 4?
I would probably go 3. They're just underpriced. I would do, if I'm playing 4, I'm absolutely running it back with at least one Golden State guy, and I'm hoping this game just blows past this total. I don't know. I'm probably going to end up trying to be under the field on the number of Brooklyn guys in my lineup, if that makes sense, if I'm not under the field on them each individually.
New projections haven't been not as popular with the information coming through, the adjustments with our projections. We have Walker hitting 35% of my optimals, Cam Johnson 32%, Claxton 26%, Cam Thomas 22%. Let's see, Mikal Bridges at 12%. Yeah, the number one optimal currently for me on DK, I had a little bit of bells and whistles and all that, some tinkering, just 2 nets. The next one, just 3 nets. I shouldn't say just. And the next one, number 3, has 6 nets, which is kind of interesting. And there's no way I'm playing a team with 6 nets or even 5, maybe 4. And like you said, if you're playing 4, you got to run it back. Who are you running it back with on Golden State?
So definitely Podziemski. I think we just got Andrew Wiggins officially ruled out. Yeah, I think it's Podziemski. I think you can play some Klay Thompson if you want to. He's a little bit underpriced. Draymond Green, he sometimes gets there, right? I think he's better priced on DraftKings, but then gets the extra point for the blocks and steals on FanDuel. Or you can go Jonathan Kuminga is more expensive. Probably more expensive than he should be at this point. But yeah, I think you can go there as well.
Kuminga minutes his last 6 games, 34, 37, 39, 43, 30. He's playing a lot of minutes. He's somebody we've kind of been waiting for. A lot of people have been touting Kuminga, and he makes some goofy errors if you watch. He's come a long way, and he was always pretty raw, but Yeah, he's super talented, obviously, and it feels like he's on the upswing and Clay is in the downswing as far as Golden State. Do they make the playoffs, Squirrel? They're currently on the outside looking in. I don't know how often you look at the standings. I believe they're like in the 10 spot currently. Golden State Warriors, are they making the playoffs this year? Let's see. They currently are, they're 12th. 21 and 25 behind the Rockets, who are 11, and the Jazz, who are 10. The Lakers are 9. I think the Jazz fall out, but the Warriors sneak in, at least to the play-in nonsense. They got to sneak into that, right? I think.
You'd think so. To be honest, I sometimes forget that they assign wins and losses at the end of each game. Like, I just think they're generating they're just getting me stats for FanDuel and DraftKings. But yeah, you would have to imagine like Golden State will press. They like, even if they're out of it, they will probably still keep, like, they're not going to tank, right? They're not going to just like forget it. So, like, they've got Steph there, they've got Draymond Green there. Like, they've still got their window. And I think they're going to try to go as far with it as they can while that window is open, like acquiring like Chris Paul and stuff. So yeah, I think they'll go for it. Yeah, I agree. Like, Jonathan Kuminga is definitely the one guy there that's really on the upswing. I guess like Podziemski too. It's like they might actually have a smooth transition from like eras, if that makes sense. And like, I don't think Podziemski and Kuminga will be like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. But they will at least have like a pretty competitive team that can potentially add to, as the years go on.
It's wild. They only have more wins than 3 teams in the West. The Spurs, who are terrible, the Blazers, who are terrible, and the Grizzlies, who, like, there's nobody left in that team. So it's kind of surprising. But I don't know if you watched them against Steph against Atlanta the other day. Every once in a while, he shows you, like, he's not what he once was, and he really has to carry this team because the rest of the team is not what it once was. But, man, when he's on, he's just ridiculous to watch. I think he put like 50 points in the bucket, something like that. It was a lot. It was a lot of points. It went overtime as well, if I'm not mistaken. Couple names thrown out in chat. Moody, I don't really see it. I think it's too ambitious for me. Projected for 17 minutes for what it's worth. I guess it's a pivot away from some of the other chalky, cheap stuff. But you think Moody sneaks into any of your lineups tonight?
I don't think so. I don't know why I would go there with Moody, but if there is something I'm missing, then I'm open to a suggestion. But yeah, as of right now, I'm not getting the Moses Moody.
They're asking about Lester Quinones too, and is Lester Quinones related to John Quinones, the guy in that What Would You Do? I don't know. That's something I want to know. You ever see that show? You aware of John Quinones, reporter / TV host?
No, I'm aware of Lester. Like Lester's
that's
the guy.
Your job to be aware of Lester.
Yeah, he's the guy who's been showing up in the game tracker that I'm like, who's this? Like 19 minutes and 23 minutes on the last couple of games. He's only 3,400 on DraftKings. What's his stable price?
I think he played extra run last game because I want to say Kuminga fouled out, and I think he was in overtime. I think that's in part of the reason why he got some more run.
Yeah, so that probably is why he got more run. I don't know. I think he's actually kind of an interesting option for like 150 sets. I'll be getting some Lester Quinones, but I agree. It might be a little bit of fool's gold, like game log watching or whatever. Because the game went into overtime and Kuminga. I remember trying to figure out why Kuminga was not in there. He had 6 fouls already. So maybe you want to avoid Quinones unless you're really doing a 150 lineup set.
Isn't fouling out really silly? Like, the number shouldn't be 6. Sure, you can't go out there and throw people around. You can't get 100 fouls. But, like, why are we benching players? Why are we kicking the stars out of games because they fouled one too many times? It's a general thought.
I was looking at the Memphis game where they had like, 8 guys, and a couple of their guys were like these like undisciplined, like big men. They're fouling, getting 2 fouls in the first few minutes of the game.
Yeah,
like, dude, we need you. Like, you cannot foul out. Or like Luke Kennard's gonna be trying to inbound the ball off the other opposing team and go score a bucket. But you got to stay in this game.
I think there's some kind of rule if you run out of players, like the other team, like if say like somebody has like 6 fouls, like the other team gets like 2 shots and the ball, or you get penalized, but you're not gonna like forfeit the game. There's some sort of goofy rule that I don't know if we've ever really seen before, or I feel like it's happened.
I think in like high school, and I think even in college, like you got like. You're playing with 4 guys, and you got to inbound. The guy's got to like inbound the ball. It's gotten down like 1 guy before. He's trying to inbound the ball off the opponents and then grab it and go score a bucket.
Josh is saying you only get to play with 4 players. So maybe I'm mixing up that rule, or that was an old rule, or I'm just making that up. I thought that was a thing.
It's probably different. The NBA probably doesn't want the mockery that could happen when a team's down.
I want that. I love chaos. I want to see that. That'd be amazing.
I want to
imagine like Giannis versus 5 guys. Just how much fun would that be? Derek wants us to rank the. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think Giannis would be like the ideal player for that scenario.
Yeah. Or like Wemby versus 5 guys. He's like Voltron out there. So tell me if you can rank the Brooklyn guys for me. Derek wants you to rank them.
So I think it's different on the different sites. So I think number 1 on FanDuel is Cam Thomas. Number 1 on DraftKings is Lonnie Walker. Number 2 on DraftKings, probably Cam Johnson. Number 2 on FanDuel, probably Mikal Bridges. The only guy I'm getting a bunch of on FanDuel is Cam Thomas. Nick Claxton, Spencer Dinwiddie also in play on FanDuel. On DraftKings, like way more than I'm getting on DraftKings, way more than on FanDuel. Getting like a lot of like Nick Claxton, Dinwiddie, and Dennis Smith.
Crunch time coming in about 5 minutes or so. I believe you got Keith and Roth, and is it Tim? I'm not sure who the fourth. Who's the third person? Do we know who the fourth person is? Somebody really, really sharp. It's Tim. It's TastefulTides.
Tim or just hanging out here for no.
Say it again.
It's either Tim or he's just hanging out in the backstage for no reason.
Yeah. Oh, I don't watch the backstage. Is that an option? I can watch the backstage. I don't see that. I don't see a backstage. I don't know how to click these things. By the way, Hornets lineup came out. It's Ish Smith, Miller, Black, Bridges, and Richards. Derek pointing out, by the way, in chat, it's pretty funny, that Dean likes janitors playing goalie. And I don't know if you know that scenario in hockey, but when both goalies are unavailable and their minor league goalie is like too far away, like the guy who is on the Zamboni, used to play goalie 20 years ago for his league team, his rec team, all of a sudden is playing goalie against the team he Zamboni's for. It's the most amazing thing. It's incredible.
Yeah. What is the exact rule there? Because I know the situation. I remember one of the guys actually won the game. Yeah, what is the emergency goalie rule? Because I don't really follow hockey.
I know it fairly well, but you know who would know it better? Tim. We can ask Tim when he comes on. We'll have time. He'll definitely enlighten us. Tim is one of our hockey guys. And we do have to knock out this last game. Toronto and New Orleans, 230 is the total. New Orleans is an 11-point favorite. Toronto, the back half of a back-to-back and traveling. They're sitting RJ Barrett. They also played extra minutes last night. They played double overtime. Jonte Porter not playing any basketball. In New Orleans, I shouldn't say no, but up in the air. Zion's got a foot, so he's questionable. Larry Nance has an ankle, he's questionable. 2 of their bigs, Herb Jones, adductor, so he's questionable. It's kind of tricky to say, but I do think if the path clears for Jonas Valanciunas' revenge game, that's pretty interesting. But when will we know this? Probably not 7 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock. I don't know. But the current plan for Toronto, New Orleans is what?
So I'm going to give Brandon Ingram and probably CJ McCollum as well a little bit of an extra boost, for maybe some Trey Murphy as well. That might be more in reaction like the Herb Jones. I'm going to give these guys a little bit of a boost. I'm going to probably keep Zion in my player pool and just hope for the best. I think Zion was questionable last game, ended up having a pretty good game. So I don't know that he's somebody you want to eliminate entirely. But as I started the sentence, I realized I should probably have had a plan for the late swap if Zion is out. So on FanDuel, you can drop down. Both Zion and Brandon Ingram are power forward eligible, which is perfect. And Brandon Ingram is $100 cheaper. So I might actually be giving Zion a boost with that being the salary difference. And if
can I put a rule? Ingram is 7.7 on DK, Zion 7.5. Can I say if Zion? I guess I don't know if you can make this rule or not. If Zion save $200, you can't make that rule, can you? Leave it.
No.
No.
What you can do, and I've thought about doing this before, is just run a set of lineups with a maximum salary with the player locked.
That makes sense.
That's the workaround. You can drop if you've got Zion in the flex without losing too much salary from Zion to CJ McCollum. Probably going to give all of the New Orleans guys a little bit of a boost to just hope for the best. It's interesting Jakob Poeltl situation. he is showing up a lot in FanDuel and not on DraftKings. And I think it's because like he's less expensive on FanDuel, right? So it's always like the kiss of death on DraftKings because there's less salary cap to start with on DraftKings. But like he's well priced on FanDuel. Don't mind getting to him a bunch. They're probably not going to be getting to him on DraftKings at $100 more. And also like centers generally on DraftKings, show up as pretty good values, right? So I'd rather be playing some like Bruno Fernando or Larry Nance than Jakob Poeltl on DraftKings, but getting a bunch of them on FanDuel.
Here's the caution flag on Poeltl is like he was gone for basically a month. He came back and played 20 minutes on the 2nd. He played 33 minutes yesterday. He wasn't projected to play that many minutes. He wasn't going to play that many minutes, but he played that many minutes because of the double overtime. I don't think he played the entirety of double overtime. I'm pulling it up now. He missed the back half of, I don't think took him off because he played 33 minutes. And he went from 20 his first game back. He was out for, again, like 4 weeks. Then 33, but he played an extra 5+. So he was going to get to 28 or so. I don't know, man. What are we projecting for Poeltl minutes? I'm just a little bit concerned about his minutes, basically. And also, depending upon New Orleans and how healthy their big men are, this game could go small. And they don't need Poeltl.
Yeah, I'm going to be checking out some Jakob Poeltl unders on that. Now that you set the context, I think that's actually a great point because I totally forgot about the game going overtime. I know I was looking at it, just game score, game log watching. His minutes are ramping up. I forgot that game that went into overtime. So yeah, right now I think we've got him projected for 27 minutes. And I still think that's like a way he'd still get there on FanDuel, 27 minutes. But you're right, it may not be 27 minutes, and then he may not get there. So it may be a way more thin of a play on FanDuel than I was thinking.
He played 7.5 minutes of overtime yesterday, so he was going to knock off 7.5 minutes basically. And I don't know why he didn't play the last 2.5 minutes. I don't think he fouled out. No, he had 5 fouls. They brought in Gary Trent. I think that's because Toronto was behind and needed some 3-point shooters. I was watching that game. Yeah, they ended up losing that game by 8. So, yeah, that's an interesting under if he can get on that because I don't know how much. He's a big dude. They haven't signed pretty long, several years, I think. Not that Toronto's really going anywhere, but it seems like, and there's different paths for him to not play a full allotment of minutes. We should have crunch time knocking on the door in a second. You got Tim coming in. You got Kevin Roth coming in, Keith Eyster. But as we bring them in.
And Dean, real quick, I'm sorry, but also you left out that it's also a back-to-back. So not only are his minutes artificially inflated because it was double overtime, but also a guy coming off injury will oftentimes take a step back on a back-to-back, right?
Yeah, for sure. And also it's kind of sort of, I don't want to say a scheduled blowout, but they're 11-point dogs here as well.
Yeah. There's a lot there that I'm like, these are good points, Dean. These are good points you're bringing up, man.
A lot of negativity to it. So sometimes in the projections, they're just meaning projections for a reason. I'm probably not going to have a lot of Poeltl. I do think his chances are better if New Orleans has all their big guys, but there's a chance where if Zion is out and Nance is out, I know Nance is a small 5, but if I'm playing Valanciunas, I kind of want Poeltl to play. I want to play as many minutes as possible because they'll match up with each other. But most importantly, I kind of teased this, Tim. If you can, do you recall when this happened last in the NHL when both of the goalies were out and we had the local janitor or the local Zamboni guy? And the thing is, he'll play for either team.
He did great.
Yeah, he won the game for them. Yeah, he was the Zamboni driver for the Maple Leafs. Both of Carolina's goalies got hurt, so he beat his own team.
And every day he reminds them of it, probably, right? And they missed the playoffs by 1 point that year.
Right. I don't know if that's true.
That's incredible.
Why is there no Disney movie for this? I would watch that movie. Before, I'd watch Ed or something. I don't know why I mentioned Ed, but Ed was a monkey who played third base with Matt LeBlanc about 25 years ago. They put him in the hot corner. Would you stick the monkey in right field? That's a whole other conversation. Anyways.
Monkeys have reflexes, man. You got to put the monkey right there. Let him use those reflexes.
He knows to throw the ball to first base if he even gets the ball. How does he know this? What's up, Roth? How was your weekend?
It's good. Actually, I just got my very first person to wish me a happy National Weatherman's Day. I went all day. Nobody said anything. I used to get free ice cream and free food and all kinds of love. Now I get nothing. Not even my wife brought it up. But shout out Hoosiers Hang Banners, giving me some love on National
I thought we weren't supposed to call you Weatherman.
Yeah,
well, you're not. Yeah.
Right. So now I'm really confused.
You want all the fixings. You want all
now
the
I'm really
benefits, but you don't want the
confused.
negativity.
That's
the
right.
tag.
Yeah. Yeah. When it
You
got
can't
me free
go ways,
McDonald's
Roth.
back in the day, I liked it. Calling me a weather person. Now I don't know.
That really?
Yeah, I got
on
me free
that day or
McDonald's.
any day.
Yeah, I got
That was
free.
one of the perks.
Yeah, free McDonald's. I got free ice cream. It was a big day back in the day. Now nobody gives a shit, apparently.
Who knows?
Happy New
Anything
Year,
else?
Hey,
How do you
thank
celebrate
Squirrel.
that? By the way?
Thank
Are you doing anything special tonight? Are you watching the Doppler?
you. You
How
know
do
what I'm
celebrate
doing?
National Weather Day?
I'm glad you asked, because for the first time in like a month and a week, we're bringing back the Pacificos. Yeah, after a dry January.
And what's breaking the seal? What are you drinking?
Pacifico. It's
Okay.
the gold standard here. Yeah. So yeah, we're celebrating, we're partying on National Weather Person's Day. We got a good NBA slate. We got things happening, Dean.
Yeah, it's a sprint slate, Roth. Last game starts at 8:00. I know you like those sprint slates.
I do.
We all like those sprint slates. Before we step aside and make way for the FanDuel sponsor, Crunch Time Squirrel, tell the people, give me a name. Be as ambitious as you want to be. Who's breaking the slate? Who do we got to get more of in the field?
So I'm going to go with, similar to my hot take on the expert survey, but I'm going Brandon Miller, career high 40 points.
I will see those 40 points and raise you one. Tyrese Maxey puts up 41 points. 41 points at a Tyrese Maxey. Yours is a little bit more ambitious. I'm sure projection-wise likes Maxey more when it comes to raw points. But we do appreciate you all watching the first portion of GrindersLive. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Don't go anywhere. We still have 30, 45 minutes. No, that's 37 to get all technical. My math is rough. I did go to UCF. I was not a math major. My apologies. Myself and Squirrel do thank you for watching the first portion. You got TastefulTides, Tim. You got Keith Eyster. You have Roth. Happy meteorologist / weatherman day. Roth, take it away.
Thank you, Dean. I appreciate it. Good stuff as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is Crunch Time. We're going to bring you up in two lock. We're going to bring you through lock. We got news breaking already. We got AD in. We got Zion in. This is like just happening. I assume we were waiting for this. Those are pretty big names. And we got two of the sharpest minds in the biz. They are in as well. We got TastefulTides. Tim in the house. What up, man?
Yeah, not much. Yeah, we just got all that Lakers news. We got Zion's in. Herb Jones is in. So no real value got added to the slate tonight. So yeah, it's going to be a fun slate. There's still some good value to be had, though.
Okay, that's good to hear, because when you said no real value, you scared me for a second. But if there's value elsewhere, that I'm okay with that. We got Ice as well. What up, Ice?
Yeah, not much. Should be a nice, fun little 6-game slate here. We do have enough value. I don't know if it's very comfortable value, but Brooklyn's shorthanded and Charlotte is shorthanded, so we can find some cheap plays. There's a couple of pivots too that we'll definitely talk about. I have to say, go ahead.
I saw Bruno Fernando tagged. It's like,
yeah,
we don't talk about Bruno. Like, I don't know if I can do that when we're talking value, but
hey, the guy does stuff when he's out there. I don't know how much he's gonna play, but
oof, yeah.
Hey, Keith, do we have any Tobias Harris news yet? Have you seen anything?
I have not seen Tobias Harris news yet.
Okay, I didn't know if I missed anything.
Okay.
Right.
Well, we will monitor, we will watch and wait, and as news breaks, we will bring it to you. But in the meantime, we're going to walk through a slate, and we're going to give you everything you need to know.
I have to point out first that the bet is over. Tim is now swagged out. Like with the RG hat, I saw him with an RG shirt over the weekend.
I like it. Good for you. Good for you.
I know. I finally made it. Finally made it.
There you go. Yeah, you put up a stink here. You guys look so much better. Why do I look like such an idiot? I don't know. I need a bigger head, or it doesn't work for me. But let's dive into the slate. Tim, what are we doing here in cash?
Yeah, so starting out on FanDuel, there's actually quite a bit of difference tonight between the two sites. So I'll break both sites down. FanDuel, I'm going to start off at point guard with Tyrese Maxey. Joel Embiid is out, so it's going to be Maxey's team for the foreseeable future. He is 9,400. He is my first point guard in. After that, your second point guard spot is kind of debatable. You can jam in Maxey and Luka into the same team. I'm certainly not going to tell people not to play Luka in cash. I don't think you absolutely have to, but I mean, it's Luka, right? So, I mean, he is a good play. He's projected for 63 fantasy points. He's 12-6. There is enough value to do it. But like he said, it's kind of shaky value. So I don't think Luka's an absolute must in cash. I think you can go lower to a guy like James Harden, or even play Emmanuel Quickly in cash also. But I think it comes down to Maxey and Luka, or Maxey and Harden for my point guards in cash. And then going over to shooting guard, Brandon Podziemski. I'll just call him Pods.
Yeah,
I know. I really nailed that one. Pods at 5,700. He's my first shooting guard in. And then there's Nick Smith, who is projected to play, I think, around 25 minutes. He's 3,800. The Hornets are going to get crushed in this matchup, but he should still play his minutes regardless, and you need some value. We don't have the cheap good value like we do on DK, so he's kind of shaky, but I don't mind it. You have to punt somewhere. So if you don't play Luka, you could go Cam Thomas or Mikal Bridges at 7,200, and Bridges is 7,800. You could play them at cash. Small forwards, it's Pods again. If you don't play him at shooting guard, assuming Tobias plays, he's definitely cash game viable. Again, he's somebody that you might have to sacrifice playing if you play Luka. But if you don't play Luka, you can get to these mid-range guys. Kawhi Leonard, if you have the money. Clippers against Atlanta is unbelievable matchup. So I don't mind that at all. I really like Brandon Ingram, even with Zion in. So I think he's definitely cash game viable. Then there's Leaky Black. He's starting. He's projected to play 25 minutes. He's 3,900. So he's a viable punt, I think. And then power forward. Kawhi's the best play, but Okongwu for Atlanta, he's going to be the chalk on both sites. He should definitely be in your cash games. He's only 6K. I'd play him 100% in cash. Again, 80 is too expensive for cash. If you're going to go all the way up, just go to Luka. But he's great for tournaments. Tobias again is fine if you're not playing Luka. So that would be about it for me for power forward. And then center, it's Mason Plumlee, which is kind of surprising. You need the savings. He's only 4,700. Zubac is out, so he's going to get a little bit extra run. If you have the money, Nick Claxton is a great play also, but I would prefer punting the position and playing Plumlee.
Yeah, I mean, that you're looking for value, and that seems like a good source of it right there. And power forward and center is a pretty good spot to get some. Okay, Ice, I want to bring you in here. Let's talk a tournament build. There's some obvious chalk, like Okongwu, right? He's the chalkiest play of the day. Is there a lot of other really heavy chalk out there that you need to worry about?
I think the Mason Plumlee is going to be pretty chalky.
Yeah.
Nick Smith is the other guy over here on FanDuel who is super, super chalk because he's one of the only few options under 4K. Leaky Black is there as well. Neither of those guys is comfortable. Ish Smith as well, you can throw in there. I'm trying to just avoid going to that build altogether. I just don't feel very comfortable about it. I don't trust Leaky Black to play upper 20s minutes. Like he could actually start and
I'm
play.
Sorry. His name is the funniest freaking name I've ever heard. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh. Continue.
Tobias is in. Tobias is in.
All right. All right, I'm going to get over it. You can start saying his name and I won't laugh from now on. Continue.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
But yeah, all those cheap plays are pretty uncomfortable, which makes it really tough to get up to Luka for me. So I'm kind of living in that upper tier, but not quite the top tier. Kawhi Leonard is one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. Playing a ton of Atlanta. The Okongwu chalk, I think, is really good chalk. Any lineup I don't have Okongwu in, I do think Bruno Fernando is a viable way to just, if you're hoping that Okongwu fails, he probably does that with like foul trouble, and that would lead to more minutes for Bruno Fernando. Bruno, as I mentioned, is a really good point per minute guy. Like if you see 18 to 20 minutes out of Bruno, I think he could absolutely be useful in tournaments. So I do have a rule, at least one of Okongwu or Bruno Fernando in every lineup that I'm playing.
Do you have another rule that says only one of, or is there a scenario where they could both get there?
There is a scenario because Bruno is so cheap and Okongwu is underpriced, but I do have the rule. It's exactly one. So I'm not playing them together. I do think it's viable that you could do that if you wanted to, but I'm always chasing the highest ceiling, trying to get to the very top of tournaments. So from that perspective, I did limit them to one.
Makes sense. Okay. Was that everything? Did you go position by position for me? I was kind of trying not to laugh at people's names.
No, I did not do position by position yet. So we can run through that here real quick.
Let's do it. Yep.
All right. So at the point guard, I'm definitely going to be underweight on Nick Smith. I don't feel confident. Like we just saw this exact same situation. And he had like 2 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. He put up 13.5 FanDuel points. Like that is not a score that you absolutely have to have in GPPs. So I definitely want to be significantly under the field on Nick Smith. Ish Smith is probably the pivot, but don't feel very comfortable about that either. And same thing with Leaky Black, like just not a huge per minute guy anyway, and extremely concerned about the minutes here. I thought you were done there, Kevin.
I was too. You caught me off guard. I was like prepared and ready, and then you just brought it back in, and it got me. All right, sorry. Continue.
Okay, so spending up on Maxey, I think is certainly a great idea. He's a little easier to get to than Luka as well. Obviously, no Joel Embiid there. Good matchup against Dallas. He should score a ton of actual points. Emmanuel Quickly is really interesting. A little surprised he's not more popular, but RJ Barrett is out. It's a very difficult matchup against New Orleans, which is probably the reason he's not showing with that much ownership. Malik Monk has a nice price. His minutes are extremely volatile. You could see 21 minutes out of him. You could see 30 minutes out of him. Like they've been kind of messing with him and Herder's minutes. It had been Herder for a long stretch there, and Monk was playing like low 20s minutes, but he did just pop off in the last game. So I don't mind Malik Monk as a value play. Let's see here. I think I covered most of the point guards. I had CJ McCollum quite a bit, but now that Zion is in, I'm going to back off that a little bit. Was just kind of building in, thinking he'd be low owned if Zion did end up getting rolled out, but have come off that take. Podziemski, I think is good chalk. Like his role is super secure tonight with Andrew Wiggins now out. He had already been closing over Klay Thompson at times, but Pod should play at least mid-30s minutes in the spot. So I think that is good value, and fine leaning into that chalk a little bit. Mikal Bridges, an interesting play today. Brooklyn is extremely shorthanded. Michael is a guy who will play upper 30s minutes from time to time anyway. So definitely want to get over the field on Michael. I definitely prefer Bridges over like the cheap Brooklyn stuff, which we're going to talk about a lot more on DK, but Lonnie Walker and Dennis Smith Jr. are both going to see significant minutes today. Their prices are better over on DK, but Bridges is definitely a guy I like quite a bit. Let's see here. Throw in some power forwards here. Tobias is an awesome play now that he is officially in. If Maxey isn't doing a ton of scoring, it's going to have to be Tobias. I think Anthony Davis is in an incredible matchup. I mentioned Kawhi is one of my favorite spends on the entire slate. Love the matchup for him against Atlanta. Also, I'm playing at least one guy from Atlanta in every single lineup in Okongwu or Fernando. So getting some Clippers exposure is something I'm very interested in. Forgot to mention James Harden at the guard spots. Definitely have interest there as well as some Norm Powell. Paul George is a little bit limited here recently. Probably only has a ceiling of like 32 minutes. So give me Kawhi as my favorite Clipper tonight. Harden a close second. Let's see. Brandon Miller, I think, is a guy who could have massive usage in this spot. Some of the names that are starting alongside of him, Ish Smith and wait for it, Leaky Black.
Ooh, yeah.
Like Brandon Miller's just going to go nuts tonight. So absolutely love him. And then at the center position, love that Okongwu has power forward eligibility as well. Like that just makes it super easy to get him into a ton of lineups tonight. And allows us to basically play two centers. I think the Plumlee chalk is pretty good chalk. Feel pretty confident in his minutes. He seems to be ahead of Daniel Tice at this point. Assuming that he's confirmed starting, Plumlee should see at least 24, 25 minutes. Nick Claxton, Tim mentioned him, I think is a fantastic play. A guy who I think has a very secure minutes floor at this point because Ben Simmons is out again. We've seen him play into the mid-30s in minutes. It's a great matchup against Golden State. So Nick Claxton, an excellent guy to get up to at center. Maxi Kleba as a pivot off of why am I losing his name? Mason Plumlee, I think is very interesting. I already talked about Fernando a little bit, but Kleber started and played really well in that last game. No Joel Embiid for Philly. So Philly, we think of as a difficult matchup. They've actually been pretty bad on the defensive end since Joel Embiid has been ruled out. Other side of that game, I do like Paul Reed a ton today as well. We know he has a massive ceiling without Embiid. Going to get quite a bit of opportunity here with Embiid out for a significant amount of time. 6,500 is a pretty expensive price tag for him, but think that he could certainly pay it off with his ceiling.
Okay, very good. In case you guys are unaware, this show, by the way, is presented by FanDuel. If you bet $5, you get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions do apply. Must be 21 and up. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Shout out to our sponsor, FanDuel, for keeping this show free for you. Hit us with the thumbs up while we bring it over to DK and talk about a cash build. Tim?
Yeah, so on DK, because Brooklyn is so cheap on DK, Luka's a must play for me in cash games on DK at 12,000. And then
is Kyrie back?
He's back, but it doesn't matter. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, in cash, Kyrie is back. But I think that Luka's still such a usage monster that
and he's playing 42 minutes a night.
Yeah, like I don't really care. I get what you're saying, Roth, but I don't really.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So then it's Luka for me and Maxi at point guard. You could go Dennis Smith Jr. if you wanted to go cheap. I think he's better utilized at shooting guard. I think you could go Emmanuel quickly if you absolutely had to. Cam Thomas is also pretty interesting. But he's probably better utilized at shooting guard also. So it's Luka and Maxi for me at point guard. And then shooting guard, this is a position that you're going to want to save at. Lonnie Walker is my favorite points per dollar play on the slate. Shooting guard, small forward. He's 4K. He absolutely has to be in your cash game lineup. Nick Smith, he's 3,800, shooting guard, small forward. I don't think he's as important, but I think he is certainly viable. You're going to get to probably at least 3 Brooklyn players in cash. So Cam Thomas, you can play. Pods for Golden State at 5,700 is absolutely cash game viable. But this is not a position that I want to spend a huge amount of money on because we've spent so much at point guard. Small forward, again, you can play Nick Smith at 3,800. Lonnie Walker, if he's not at shooting guard, you're playing him at small forward. Getting a lot of talk about Brandon Miller. I think Brandon Miller is great for tournaments. I don't think I'd play him in cash. I think the Lakers are going to absolutely crush Charlotte, and I know Miller's been really good. I'd rather spend up a little bit to get to Harris or spend down for Cameron Johnson at 5K for Brooklyn. So I do not think that Miller is a strong play for cash games, just because there's other better plays in my opinion.
Sure.
Power forward. Okongwu, obviously, he's going to be in your cash game build. And then Anthony Davis under 10K is so ridiculous in this matchup. He's 9,900. Like, if he plays any part of the fourth quarter, he'll have well over 55 points, in my opinion. So he's got such a great floor and a massive ceiling. I'm just worried that, they just annihilate Charlotte. That's the only way that he doesn't get there. Cameron Johnson, once again, he's a great option at 5K.
But on AD, are
yeah.
you still playing him in cash, even though you're worried about the blowout risk? Because you can't bank on a blowout, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you can get there, I would, because I think that his floor is just so solid. You might have to, punt like a couple positions, like Nick Smith, Lonnie Walker, perhaps Leaky Black. I don't really want to play Leaky Black in cash, but I think AD's floor at that price is just way too good. And then center, Nick Claxton is my favorite. Mason Plumlee is probably my second go-to if I don't have the money for Claxton.
Okay, very good. Ice, I want to bring you in and talk tournaments. What's your kind of big picture thought and build here as you try to figure out not just how to cash a tournament, but how to take one down? What's your plan?
Yeah, Tim touched on something that I think is really important. The AD stuff, for me, it's pretty easy. You just run AD back with Brandon Miller or Miles Bridges. Those are the two guys who could absolutely go nuts and keep this game close. So I do have a bunch of Anthony Davis, absolutely including one of Miles Bridges or Brandon Miller in that type of build. Mm-hmm. Dean also brought up a great point in the chat that I glossed over when talking about Paul Reed. There was a report out there that he's still dealing with an illness. The illness limited him to 15 minutes in his last game. So there is severe risk with Paul Reed. It looks like we did drop his minutes projection. We have him for 25. I did back off of Paul Reed a little bit, but I still want to have a couple shares. What if the report is nonsense and he goes out there and plays 30 minutes and absolutely smashes? So still a little bit of Paul Reed, but good point by Dean there that he is dealing with an illness report.
And House is starting, not Morris, Keith.
Okay. I don't think that changes.
I don't think that matters really much either. I just wanted everyone to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ice, you want to walk me through a build on DK? I'm sure it's at least similar to FanDuel, but we've got like 17 minutes to kill.
Yeah, definitely. The main difference, like I mentioned, is the Brooklyn prices are much better over here on DraftKings. So they're seeing quite a bit of ownership. Cameron Johnson, one of the highest owned projected. Lonnie Walker, Dennis Smith Jr. I'm underweight on all three of those guys. They're shorthanded. They're certainly going to have to play minutes, but I mean, just give me Mikal Bridges is how I want to play the Nets mostly. If choosing between those three, I think Lonnie Walker has the highest ceiling. I just don't ever trust Cameron Johnson to find a ceiling. I don't love playing Lonnie Walker at ownership, so I'm even under the field on him. Same thing with Okongwu over here on DK. I think he's an awesome play. Get me well over the field on him. Him or Fernando going to be in every single lineup. Similar thoughts on the Charlotte guys too. Also really cheap over here. But Nick Smith Jr. just hasn't done really anything with his opportunity. Ish Smith, we've known what he is for a very long time. And he is not a great DFS player. Leaky Black, another just low point per minute guy. Don't trust the minutes, even with him starting. So yeah, I'm not in love with the value stuff. That's making it very tough for me to get over the field on Luka. I think Kyrie back does impact the ceiling a little bit. I'm certainly not saying don't play Luka. I'm just basically matching the field with him rather than trying to take a massive overweight stand. And that's because same deal over here. I really like some of the guys in the 8 and 9K range. Kawhi Leonard being one of my absolute favorites. Love Maxey tonight as well. Anthony Davis, my favorite top spend of the night. Both Bridges, Miles, and Mikal certainly in play. Just a really strong 8-9K range. So don't feel the need to get overweight on Luka today.
Okay. Nobody has interest in Kyrie himself, actually playing Kyrie?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I don't have a ton of interest there.
Yeah.
But
all right, just checking. All right, let's see. I didn't know what if his price got dropped way down 8.5. Okay, let's dive into some QQs. We got about 15 minutes. Tim, is there anything you want to add before I jump into these questions?
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay, excellent. If you feel like going on tangents, feel free because we got plenty of time.
Do you have any rules? Do you have any rules about Brooklyn, Keith?
I do. 1 second here. Let me pull them up.
I bet that would be. I bet that'd be helpful.
Yeah, good point. I definitely limited Lonnie Walker and Dennis Smith Jr. to just one of those guys. I don't think it's super correlated. It's just really more me trying to get under the field on that value. I definitely do not want more than 3 of them in any lineup. I don't think I'm getting enough Royce O'Neal for it to really matter, but I think he negatively correlates with Cameron Johnson. Dennis Smith Jr. and Spencer Dinwiddie certainly negatively correlate, but I think the biggest one for me that probably not many people are doing is limiting Lonnie Walker and Dennis Smith Jr. to 1 per lineup.
Okay, very good. Let's see. We got Yappy's question, which is DK Cash. Tim, we kind of talked about this. He says, "I'm getting Luka. Is that okay with Kyrie back?"
Yes. I mean, absolutely.
You're doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
DK tournament tier, Kawhi or AD? And I get the feeling you like your boy AD.
Oh, I mean, they're like 2 of my favorite plays on the entire slate. Did he give a site? Not that it really matters, but
he said it was DK.
Yeah, I like the savings down to Kawhi, to be honest. I think he's absolutely smashing tonight.
Okay, great. DK GPP, last piece, Ice, Prince, Kleba, or House?
I will go Kleba there.
Okay. DK GPP, Monk or Strus?
Monk.
This is a fun question from Smoke and Jay, and it's a hard one, so I'm going to let you both answer here. Among popular scrubby chalk, which one of the 2 are you somewhat which one or 2? Okay, that makes more sense. Which 1 or 2 are you somewhat confident about? So scrub chalk probably means like below a Kongwu, because that's not quite scrub chalk. So of like the 3-4K guys, where are you kind of confident?
I say Lonnie Walker.
Yeah, that's what I would say too.
Lonnie Walker is the one I feel best about. If we're including Mason Plumlee in that, I feel pretty good about Mason Plumlee also.
Yeah. Broccoli Boy says, DK GPP, where is Roth's hat? It's here. I just look like an idiot in a hat, so I try not to put it on. Look how tall. I just look so dumb. It just doesn't work with my head. Let's see. What else do we got? FanDuel cash question. Here we go. Maxi Kleba, Kawhi, and Plum Dog, or Bridges of the Brooklyn variety, Tobias and Clax?
Wow, they're both good. I'd say the second one.
Okay, good. DK GPP. Ooh, buddy. Favorite punt, 3,400 and under. I assume this is in the util ice. And he says, not Bruno, though. We don't talk about Bruno. Is there anything down there?
Let me see here. Larry Nance is the answer there. Certainly prefer him over Black. I think Trey Lyles is interesting if you're not into the Larry Nance thing.
Okay. Dean pointing out it is a Mason Plumlee revenge game. Did you guys factor this into your analysis yet?
Gonna have to bump him up a little bit more.
Yeah, I gotta
have to check into the narratives.
Bump up the projections a little bit there on that one. What else do we got here? J Sam's FanDuel single entry GPP. It's a 2v2 for you, Ice. Russ and PJ Washington, or Kleba and DeJounte Murray?
I'll go the second one there.
God, you're excited about Kleba? You really want to play Kleba?
I mean, if he's going to start and play 30 minutes, I'm not excited about it. But
what's he cost on DK? I'll tell you if he's 41.
41.
Okay. All right. If he was going to be 45, I was going to say you're crazy. 41, maybe. Maybe if he gets hot from 3, maybe. I still don't like it. What do we got? FanDuel GPP. I'm landing at 6,800. My last piece at point guard. Can Russ deliver in a big game total here versus Atlanta?
He can. It's
he
just,
can.
Is he going to get the minutes? Is the big question.
He doesn't really play very many minutes. So
I will say that Zubac being out definitely helps his ceiling. Like there's a better chance he'll play 28 minutes than there was if Zubac were playing.
Yeah. Okay. Gonna jump into the YouTube. By the way, if you're watching this and you're thinking, hey, how expensive was this show? I can't remember what I paid for it. It's free. You're getting this content for free. And all that we ask is that you hit the thumbs up. So hit us with the thumbs up. It's at the bottom. It's going to keep this content free. That's the goal. Keep it free for as long as possible. We need eyeballs, and we need thumbs up to get eyeballs. So make sure you hit that thumbs up for us. Let's get some QQs. Scroll up, smash the like button. You see it there at the bottom. Did Dean ever place his 10K freebie bet, or was it 10K?
1K, I think.
Yeah, I was
1K.
like,
did he ever do it? Did he ever do it?
Dean, we need an update on that.
Yeah.
So let us know. I know he's watching, so let us know, Dean.
I mean, I can't believe the squad. I don't know if anybody's paying attention to squad rides, but Alex Turner is like just on an absolute heater. Like I think it's 8 in a row now.
No, it's at least 9. I think 9 or 10. Yeah.
So if you're not following,
I think today he's going for 9.
That's what I.
Okay.
That's what I thought it was too. Yeah.
So I love how there was just a baby in the background of that. I love that was just my life right there. I felt that, Steve. If you guys have not, you got to get in the RG Discord in the Squad Rides channel. All of the RotoGrinders and Scores and Odds guys, we all get on one bet per day. It's not like we're giving you we are all riding one bet per day. Sometimes we maybe get 2 bets. Like if we win one, we might get one later in the day. Anyways, and then everybody sweats the same bet, and it's so fun. And we're on a heater right now. We've got like 8 or 9 in a row. It is a blast. And if you win, the same guy picks again, and that's Alex for RotoGrinders has been just on a tear. It has been so fun to follow along with. So I highly recommend you check out the Discord and you jump on in that. Let's see what we got here. Back to questions. Maxi or Young in a DK GPP, Ice?
I mean, we're talking crazy different ownership there. So it does depend on your lineup. I prefer Maxi in a vacuum, but if that's your way to differentiate in your lineup, I'm definitely good with Trey.
I think sideways hat might be it for me. That looks a little, this is probably the look that works. Any love for Sarge tonight on FanDuel? Either of you got any Sarge?
I don't think so.
Okay. I do not. Not for me.
Okay. Adam says, is Leaky Black a meme or an actual player? He's an actual player and like a legitimate Ice. What is your exposure to him?
Very, very, very low. I'm not even sure I have him.
What? We've said his name 800 freaking times this show. You don't even have him?
I have 10%.
Wow.
I think if you want my honest opinion, he plays 20 minutes tonight.
Yeah. Okay. And he's not a good.
And he's low per minute.
Like it's doesn't sound like a good play. Other than an awesome name, you're not bringing much to the table there, Leaky. So great. I got 4,300 left on DK tournaments. Who should I put in that util from Dex in the util in the YouTube?
How much was it? Sorry,
4,300.
43.
Lonnie Walker, if you don't have him, would be my favorite. I guess Nick Smith would be second. Don't feel as good about that one.
Okay. What else do we got? Here we go. FanDuel GPP. Just to bring you into the mix, Tim, I'm giving this to you. Harden and Murray or Kyrie and Reeves, FanDuel GPP.
Can you repeat that real quick, Kevin? Sorry.
I can. Yeah, you're fine. It was Harden and Murray or Kyrie and Reeves.
The first one. I like Harden quite a bit tonight.
Okay. FanDuel single entry. Ice, double Bridges and Clax. Oh, going double Bridge and Clax or Mitchell, Brandon Miller, and PJ Washington.
Yeah, give me double Bridges.
Okay.
I love Brandon Miller tonight, though.
Okay. FanDuel single entry GPP. Any interest in Joe Val? Oh, did Joe Val do well when I was talking him up the other day, or did he bust? I need to.
Does Joe Val ever do well?
Come on. He sometimes does.
He actually did. Was it? Let's see. What was the 31st? I think that might have been the day.
Okay.
Last Wednesday. Well, if it was last Wednesday, he smashed.
I'm going to pretend it was. I'll tell you that. Yeah, that was the day for damn sure. The question was, any interest in Joe Val today? in a FanDuel single entry.
I can't do it when Zion's playing. He just doesn't generally get the enough minutes.
Yeah, that's fair. NBA DFS has FanDuel cash question. Hey, there we go. We got some cash in the mix. B. Miller or Cam Thomas?
I prefer Cam Thomas.
Very good. What do we got here? We got producer Steve, taking credit for the streak that we're on, saying he's the one who nominated Alex for the run, which I think also means that he lost in order to nominate, right? Yeah. That's the most brilliant spin I've ever heard. Taking credit for the streak when he had the losing pick. All right, let's see. Steph or Maxey? Did we do that one? We did, right?
We had Trey or Maxey.
Oh,
I don't think we had Steph or Maxey. It's
question.
Still Maxey for me. Same answer as I gave for Trey.
Okay.
Like fine, but prefer Maxey.
Okay. K-Town's Finest says Leonard and Harden together. They both smashed against Washington. Can I run that back?
Yes, I think you can. I mean, you probably have Okongwu anyway. I might even consider adding a DeJounte or a Trey into that and just full game stacking it.
Okay. I read this one wrong because you didn't capitalize the name Quickly. So I thought Scott Davies was saying FanDuel GPP Quickly or Cam Thomas, but he's saying Quickly, the player, or Cam Thomas. Who do you prefer, Quickly or Cam Thomas?
Cam Thomas is going to be more popular. I think I prefer Quickly.
Jim?
Yeah, I still prefer Thomas, but I agree with what Ice is saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's pop back in the Discord. I think, we did. We're doing good there. Make sure you hit us with the thumbs up here. This is always a hard question. He's making you do math. Like, all right, Ice. I'm sorry, man. Oh no, it's FanDuel Cash.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure this one out already, Raw.
Good. These are not easy to do on the fly.
It's tough. It's tough. It's 4,700 for 2 small forward spots, right?
Yes.
So, oh boy. I'd like you to play pods for Golden State. So that would leave you with, oh man.
Yeah,
That's
you know
really
what? I'm
tough.
going to throw a flag. These questions take too much time. I'm throwing a challenge flag on these questions. If you're making my guys do math, it's just
it's just there's nobody down there.
Yeah, there's really not.
There's none. There's none.
All right, back to more questions that do not include math here. Roth deserves his flowers for his Joval call the other day. He was in the winner. Thank you. He was my play of the day. He was my feel it in my palms play of the day. Hell yeah. That's what I like to hear, man. Not just a weatherman on National Weatherman. Can you fade Lonnie Walker on DK? Ice, can you fade Lonnie Walker?
Yeah, I think you certainly can. I mean, he basically all he does is score. So if his shot's not falling, there's definitely paths for him to fail. Okay.
Tides, you cool with locking in Okongwu and Walker in 2 max on DK?
Yeah, absolutely.
Three max. I was like, the hell is 2 max?
Yeah.
What do we got? Hoosier saying Bader says, how is this revenge for Mason Plumlee? I don't know. Someone told me it was. I just
because Dean said so. That's why.
Dean said so. Yeah, I trust Dean. Maybe I'm wrong. FanDuel GPP, Reeves or Kuminga?
Kuminga.
Okay. True North says, what is the square root of Doncic's floor? It's 7. The answer is 7, I think.
Close enough.
Yeah, and that's the floor. That should do. Hey, I have a message. We're less than a minute until lock. I have a message from Andy Means, from our fearless leader, Andy Means. I had a workplace evaluation because he's our boss now. I don't know if everyone else is aware. He's our boss now. And he did want to pass along. He's sorry that he is not on the show any longer, but he's just literally swamped with all kinds of other things that he has to do. And he misses the show. Mostly, I think he misses hanging out with me, but that's besides the point. But he did pass along. He misses the show and appreciates everybody watching. So there you go. Hey, we hit the lock with that. I think we're done. Anything else we got to add, guys?
No, it's going to be a quick one. Got all the news. Slate's going to be over in like 3 hours.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
With that, for Tides and for Ice and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.